Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have a really cool diver for you from Davosa. A little bit about the brand. They were established back in 1987. And they actually have horological roots that tie all the way back to 1861. They are a Swiss-made brand, and they're really just a micro brand with high quality, feature rich, kind of that upper entry level to mid tier quality that's out there in their offerings. And what they're really known for are, of course, some of their sub homages. But one of the watch is that this actually stood out for them is their Argonautic line that I've always had my eye on, and I've really thought those were really cool watches. Unfortunately, I think some of their feature sets were a little bit lacking in the past, but with this iteration, I think they've really hit it out of the park. If you're a fan of YouTube, I'm sure you've seen some other reviews for the Argonautic in the past, some of the older iterations, and it just was always missing something. The clasp wasn't right, the bezel insert, the lume. There was always just something holding this piece back, and I think now they really got it right, and I'm really proud to have it on the channel for you guys. So, of course, this is a dive watch, and some key common characteristics to look at when you're looking for a dive watch that you're going to find are, of course, water resistance through some type of screw-down crown, something that's tough, legible, with a dive time bezel and a diver's extension if on bracelet is always nice. Now, this particular model is the Davosa Argonautic BG, and the BG is for the BGW9 Lume, which you're going to see later on, and it really blasts. It's really quite impressive. So let's go ahead and get this in hand. Okay. So as you can see, this one just does it right. Just the color play on here is really on point. I do really love the blues there. Just the texturing on the dial, really nice, super grainy texture on that dial there. Look at that matte dial. Absolutely gorgeous. Nice high contrast to the beautiful ceramic bezel insert there. You have the pop of color with the yellow. Just really nicely done. Now, diameter wise, this is a nice beefy diver. I consider it a full-size diver. I wouldn't consider it oversized, extra large, or anything like that. It's definitely not a mid-size or small watch. I consider this a full-size diver. This is about the size a dive watch should be, unless it's trying to be more than just a dive watch. If it's trying to be a / everyday watch, then it could be smaller, of course. And if it's trying to be the deepest of the deep sea divers, then it can be bigger. If it's trying to be vintage, then it can definitely be a lot smaller than this. But I think for a modern diver, this is just about perfect at 42.5 millimeters in diameter. Now, with a 13.5 millimeter height, it's actually not super thick. It's not super thin either, but I think when you think about that, just 13 millimeters is not I think 12 is actually pretty run-of-the-mill. So something that's just about 13 and is going to be this beefy is actually a really nice wear, and I think it wears really, really nicely on the wrist. So you can get these actually for right about 758 euros or just under 900 bucks, depending on kind of the conversion rate. You could find these for about $890 or less. Of course, everything is stainless steel. You have this really great sapphire crystal there, really nicely done AR coating, just super nice, just fully loaded, and then you have the really nice ceramic insert, as you can see on this 120 click unidirectional rotating bezel. So, really nice piece, great grip, even through these gloves here. It does the job. It's not reinventing the wheel, but man, is just a fine execution of the wheel. So really nice. I hope you got some good sound bits out of that. I think this is just really well done. Now, the movement inside is going to be your Sellita SW200-1, hacking hand windable, of course. Can't see it, though, because it is a really nice stamped case back there with some nice etching, but nothing special as far as displaying the movement goes. Now, the dial is really, for me, just the color play and the aesthetic of this is really what wins me over. I really do like the layout. Of course, everything's printed on there. It looks really great. All in BGW9 Lume, to include the bezel insert, which is also loomed, really great. And then you have, of course, the nice date window that's framed there with, you know, it's not like a physical frame like you would see on a watch that has applied indices, but they do have a nice little kind of visual eye-catching painted on frame there, which I think definitely adds to the aesthetic and just looks better than you would get if you didn't have it. So nice move on that one, Davosa. So it's water resistance to 300 meters or 1,000 feet. It has 22 millimeter wide lugs, and then it also has a solid end link, which is really nice, with solid links, as you can see here, which have a 20 down to 20 millimeter taper. I'm sorry, 22 down to 20 millimeter. These are push pin connectors that you're gonna find, and it does have a milled folding clasp and milled diver's extension. So really nice there, nice touch. I'm glad they were finally able to ditch the stamped pieces and really make this watch feel very complete. So let's go ahead and get this on the wrist. All right, as you can see on my 7¼ inch wrist, yes, this is a full-size diver with a lot of presence, and man, it still looks good though. Still looks damn good. Really a huge fan of this. As you can see up close on a wristy, it's gonna look very large, but I mean, not even oversized, even up this close. It's not like the lugs are hanging over my wrists or anything. And these lugs drape down very nicely, and there's still plenty of room, honestly, for those links to drape as well. So really nice fitting. It's something that feels super substantial though, so you're not going to forget that this is on the wrist by any means. But you know, color play wise, aesthetic wise, this is just a beautiful diver. Of course, you know, most brands are moving away from kind of the larger sizes, but I don't think that means that there's not a place for a watch like this in your collection. As you can see, I think it fits and suits my wrist really well. I have a 7¼ inch wrist, and I think this thing is just super nice. Actually, you know, I'd say the aesthetic is really Oris Aquis meets Omega Seamaster Professional. You know, it's large but not oversized looking. Definitely, and it kind of takes from both of those families, you know, as far as even the mixture of the blues. It's kind of in between the SMP and the Aquis, and then the design aesthetic. I mean, look at the way the bracelet is, right? The multi-piece bracelet, you know, the big triangle, the indices, but the bezel I mean, it just has so many. It doesn't look like it's a knockoff of an Oris or a Seamaster Professional, but it really does such a great job of kind of channeling both of those very unique design languages. So let's go ahead and check out this awesome Lume. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights. As you can see, this thing is a real torch set. BGW9, nice and blue tone. Very beautiful, nice and bright as well. So there's just a lot of surface area there to cover. So although, you know, that Lume is printed on the dial and it's not like some big beefy applied indice or anything like that, it does really fill the space well. So you're actually going to have it nice and readable. Of course, it would have been nice if we would have had some Lume on that running seconds hand. So it kind of would have been more of a quote unquote traditional diver. But I think it still definitely does the job. Let's go ahead and get some low light transition here. As you can see, this thing is just gorgeous, and in low light you can see that the blue is much deeper, darker, but the light does play with it quite well, and that is because of the texturing on the dial. You have that beautiful grainy matte blue dial, and then you have the nice contrast of the super reflective and glossy ceramic bezel insert. Just gorgeous. This thing plays in the light really well. And as you can see in this low light, that yellow seconds hand is actually really quite visible. So, you know, unless you're like pitch black, you know, really dark situation, you might not have an idea they're running seconds hand. But once you have a little bit of light, you can tell this bad boy's running. So really well done on that Davosa. So while the camera goes ahead and gets its kind of white balance back there, let's go ahead and cover some of my closing thoughts. Now, model variants wise, there are tons of color options for this bad boy. You know, so I mean, too many to probably cover, too many different options. Now, some comparable models, though, would probably be something like the Oris Aquis, as I mentioned, as far as pricing goes and whatnot, and kind of filling that big, beefy diver space. And then you could also compare maybe the Alpina Sea Strong line or the Raymond Weil Freelancer diver, which is the watch that I love, that I also reviewed on the channel. So to include also the Aquis, which I also reviewed on the channel. So definitely check those out too. I'm actually going to do kind of another follow-up, you know, best blue diver part 2. That was kind of one of my biggest videos of the channel history, you know, at over 200,000 views. So I'm definitely going to do another comparison as far as that goes, the Swiss made or at least Swiss powered blue divers, and kind of see what the standing is now. Still take those classic 5 back, but introduce a new 5 and that really show kind of where the market's going. So I'm really looking forward to that. If you guys liked the video, please do hit like. If you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Oh yeah, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. So, you know, one last thing, I'll leave you with the bottom line. You know, this is a tough modern diver with all of the expected bells and whistles at a very affordable price. So, I mean, if you're looking for something that's good, you want to spend your money on something quality, this could be it. If you like the aesthetic, I say you definitely go for it, as long as you have the wrist to pull it off. Thanks, guys. Bye.